that I think are important in teaching children. What do I base this on? I base this on my own life, on my parents' positive influence, and some of their mistakes as well. So let me begin with a biblical phrase from Leviticus: love your neighbor as yourself. And some of you have heard this before. You can't love your neighbor unless you love yourself. So the first obligation, categorical imperative, I believe, for a parent to a child is to give a child a good sense of ego, a good sense of self, and also to distinguish between being in love with and loving, because it's love your neighbor and show love to your neighbor as you show love to yourself. And so it's exceedingly important with children to teach them not only how to give love, but also receive love as well. Secondly, to need to both take and to give. You know, religion often teaches us or gives us the false impression that we should only give, that we should never take, that taking is a bad thing. And I think that that attitude is a bad thing. I've learned in my long life that giving can be a control mechanism. For I'm the only type of individual who likes to pick up the check and always give, but not take. One of the things that I've learned, basically through the many years that I've been at Georgetown, is the spiritual gift of taking, of receiving, because that gives you a sense of humility. So teach your children not only to give, but also to receive as well. Let's look at the expression, honor your parents. You know, sometimes people look at that and say, well, that means that children should be seen and not heard. Others interpret it to mean always agree with your parents. Or others would say, always people please your parents, even if you believe that they're wrong. But if we look at the origin of the word honor, in Hebrew it's kavod. And kavod is the name for the liver, which is the heaviest organ of the body. And so what it really means is have a sincere, serious relationship with your parents. Parent and child should have a serious, heavy relationship, which is a relationship of reciprocal respect. And one of the things my parents taught me was when we disagreed and they came to the realization that I was right and they were wrong, they admitted it. That takes a great deal of effort on the part of a parent. 4, the ability to view the world through the eyes of a child, even in adulthood. It was the most significant aspects of the life of Jesus, where he said, bring little children to me. One of my professors, a great man, theologian of the past century, Abraham Joshua Heschel, taught me that wonderful phrase, radical amazement. I think very often, and especially in the day in which we live, we sort of influence our children to succeed, to be successful, and forget that they should also enjoy life at the same time. I see kids overburdened with after-school activities, which I think are very good, but it doesn't give them a time to smell the roses. So I think it's very important for a parent to teach a child how to relax, how to seize the moment and enjoy the moment. I see another tendency. I see a tendency for parents to want to make their children adults before their time, in the way they dress and often in the way they think. And I think that's terrible. Don't make your children prematurely old. I'm not prematurely old because my parents taught me always how to be young. In fact, I was very impressed by the president of Smith College in 1960. She said, our students are so well-rounded that they roll right downhill. And I think that can be very true of life today. And finally, teach your children that life is duality. That life contains its joys, but it also contains its sorrows. God never promised us a rose garden. If God had promised us a rose garden, we would have known that the most beautiful rose has the most vicious thorns. And so teach your children to accept life in its beauty, but also to deal with the darkness that exists in life as well. Bring them to a sense of realism about the nature of life. And I'm always reminded of the fact that in Genesis chapter 1, first there was darkness, and there was light. Out of the darkness came the light.